video to work
Got
with.
it.
Okay.
Cool.
Recording.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do you guys just love how I just like throw this together and don't really tell you what the heck it is we're doing?
It's okay, bro.
Yeah.
We're used to it.
It's like you in
We're
the
used to
kitchen,
it.
man. You're in the kitchen.
Well, I mean, you
Uh,
kind of gave us a heads up.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of a heads up. All right. Well, I'm going to kind of like jump in here, and this is going to be free flowing. Okay.
Good. Love it.
All right. All right. Welcome to a special Thanksgiving edition of the True West podcast. Today we're doing something special. It is the 20th episode of the True West podcast, and it will be our last one in this season one. Really excited and really grateful for what we have been able to accomplish over the last 4 or 5 months. And in that spirit of gratitude, I have invited back a few of my favorite guests from the last 5 months to join me today. And we're going to talk a little bit about gratitude and what it is we are thankful for this past year and what it is we are thankful for as we head into this holiday season. So welcoming back to the podcast, we have producer, director Richard Yearwood, creative director and president of Redtail Creative, Mr. Corey Travalina. Oh, damn it. I knew I was going to do the First Sergeant, Mr. For Chief Master Sergeant, First Sergeant. There he goes. Here it is. Chief Master Sergeant, First Sergeant Manny Pinero retired from the United States Air Force and and Senior Vice President of Go West Creative, Rick Boyja. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with me this afternoon for this impromptu podcast call.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy to be
Pleasure
here.
to be
Thanks
here.
for the invitation.
All right. So I want to get into this conversation around gratitude. And I want to lay down a couple of ground rules, right? What I want to make sure is that when we think about gratitude and the things we're grateful for in the past year, we get that you're all grateful for your family, right? And we'll touch on that towards the end. But I want you to think a little bit outside of your immediate family and think about this last year. And I'm going to start with kind of a different question. What is something that was kind of crappy that happened in the last 12 months that when you were going through it, you're like, I'm not enjoying this at all. But now you look back on it and you go, okay, all right. I see what that was all about and I'm grateful for it. Anybody have anything?
Yeah, I have something.
Richard Yearwood, identify yourself.
Yearwood. Yes.
Just
My
kidding. I'm
name is
kidding.
Richard Yearwood.
Hey, just kidding. Rich. Go ahead.
It's okay. I had a rough year of trying to find money to do projects. Now, what I mean by that is I had a job, but I also had the thought that I would find money to do what I love. And
So you're saying your job is not the thing you love? Just want to be clear.
not saying that the job didn't have anything that I love.
Just messing.
Nice try.
Just messing. Yeah.
Nice try. But I thought I could do something. I thought I could gather money, and the more money that I put towards projects, I gathered money and I put money towards projects. They didn't work out. It didn't work out at all. And so I lost a lot of money trying to fuel what I thought was my passion. And that did not go very well at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the upside? What's the
year.
upside that you're grateful for out of that?
Yeah.
Well, I talked to this guy, Corey, and this other guy, can't remember his name.
What is
David
it?
Fischette. David Fischette. And we got together and we were praying together, and We send each other Bible messages. And I think that out of getting that enjoyment, that fulfillment from the guys has really spurred me to do better. Like, it's not about trying to get a show off the ground. Who cares about getting a show off the ground? Who really cares? Another stupid show that is just going to clog people's minds. It doesn't matter. But what I got from these two, from Corey and David, was I need you to be better. I need you to be honest. And that has been just absolutely amazing for me this year.
So let me jump in on that, and Corey, you jump in as well. But I think, you know, what I'm trying to get to on this is how things that are falling apart, then you look back on gratitude. Now I can kind of put some connective tissue in there. The reason that Corey and I reached out to you is you were clearly in a funky place. You were clearly in a dark place. You were clearly struggling with something, but when we would talk to you about it, you're no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm great. No, I'm good. Everything's good. Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until we really were able to get together, talk, have some hard conversations, spend some time praying together, that, you know, slowly by little by little, you start to see, oh my gosh, I was really in a dark place, and now I'm seeing some of that cloud lift, and I can actually have a perspective to see the valley that I was actually in.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Corey?
Yeah. That's exactly.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that it's like Manny and I were talking about it right before we dove in to this whole conversation. And that is just how faithful God is, and how easily we forget that. I mean, David, Richard, we've talked about that in the past, and just how nothing in our lives has turned out the way that we thought it would. It's like we have this concept and this idea of, here are the things that I really want to accomplish. Here's my goals, my dreams, and we can go for them, but ultimately it's God that's going to direct our path, and someone's going to come into it, someone's going to come out of it, and he's going to transform and change the trajectory in order to come out in his timing. Exactly where we're supposed to be. And so, like you, Richard, like you were in this place, in my opinion, because of just you were deflated. You were deflated, and you, like you were just saying, you were discouraged. You were trying all these things, but you were trying all these things without bringing them before the throne of Christ. You were trying these things to try to do them on your own. And it was until you finally said, I can't do this. And you were saying, you know, to David and I, and we were coming together, and you're like, I give up. Like, Lord, I got to give this to you. I just can't do this anymore. And that's when you started seeing all the blessings that you have. You know, you're alive, you've got good health, you're forgiven, you've got a job, you know, like all these amazing things. For me this year, every year I choose a word. And this year, you always got to be careful the word you choose, right? Because God's going to give you what you want. And my word this year was endurance. And so there's certain things that I've done this year, like fasting, right? Like pushing through very, very hard seasons of my marriage. You guys know, and pushing through and not giving up on my diet. Like there's certain aspects of my diet I pushed through for like 10 months. I'm still pushing through. I decided to give up alcohol this year, and just because, and it was like, I'm enduring that. Why? Because I just want to know I can do it. Right. And so I just chose this year, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to read more of God's word. Right. I'm going to pray more. I'm going to love my family more. I'm going to be more intentional about projects that I choose. Right. And who I'm giving my time to. Right. And so I'm very grateful this year, because going through some of these hard things that I've gone through this year with my kids, got 2 teenagers. Hello world.
Right.
You guys know what that's like. a lot of things. I've never had a 16-year-old son. I've never had an 18-year-old daughter who gets a boyfriend. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I keep screwing up. But I'm filled with gratitude as we're going into this, because now I'm looking back and I'm going, oh my gosh, Lord, that wasn't about them. That was about me. Like, I'm becoming better. I'm becoming the man that I was meant to be. And as I ask you that, God, to transform me into the man you need me to be, I don't see it in that moment. I'm like, this is bull crap. I can't believe this is happening. Well, you did this and you did that. And that client said this, and oh, that project fell through. And then it's like, oh, I had to go to you in prayer,
right,
and give that up and find peace, knowing that you're going to take care. Okay, Lord, I'm grateful for another day. You've got me. I'm so happy I'm alive. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Rick,
and
thanks for
Rick,
sharing that, Corey. Yeah, I want to toss it to you, Rick. Right? Because you got very different perspective. You got three not so little ones anymore at home. You've got a lot going on with you, holding down the West Coast for Go West, but having to travel all the time, either coming out here to Nashville for work or traveling around the country taking care of clients. So tell me, what has been something that's been difficult for you this past year that you're grateful for now?
Well, I think, I mean, it's interesting the way this conversation is evolving, because it's nailing right on the head what came to mind when you first posed the question. Yeah, I have three amazing daughters. They're young, but as we know, as the days go by, they become less young. My oldest daughter is 13. She turned 13 this past January. And so this was a new experience for me, as you mentioned, Corey, a teenager for me. My little girls suddenly are, moving into this new direction. And with my oldest daughter, Mila, she's been in middle school for a couple of years now. This is her last year, 8th grade. She's going to be going to high school next year. But for the last couple of years, she's always done really well with her grades. And it was more when she lapses because of distractions, things that pop up for teenagers. We put a cell phone in her pocket because we wanted to be able to be in contact with her, be safe with her, but then that introduces a distraction. And then there's all these other things that are influencing teenagers these days. Middle school is rough. It's just such a rough time of year. I mean, I would prefer the grammar school and the high school years, over, because kids at this age level are just really brutal, and the influences that are being put on them in society. This all came to a head for me in the last couple months. So she's always done, like I said, pretty good at their classes, but since the beginning of this year, we noticed that she was really struggling with math, and her grades were just dropping, and we just supported her like we had in the years past, but we noticed a change in her personality. She started to get very depressed and somber and not very social. And I attributed to, okay, she's just got that teen angst and so on. And within the last couple of weeks, she was falling really behind in her schoolwork. She had a D for the first time in math, and we were getting emails from the teacher, and we talked about it, and she would get really defensive. But then we started catching her in lies, because she would tell us that her work was done, and we'd find out later that not only was it not done, there were several assignments that were past due and behind. And it really came to a head in the last couple of weeks when I finally confronted her on it, and she got very emotional. And my approach had always been, okay, we've got to take away distractions, take away your phone and all that. And we had an issue before with we caught months ago about some text messages that we saw inappropriate on her phone. So I happened to go through her phone looking at stuff, and I noticed that she was keeping a little journal in her notes. And it was there that I realized how bad it had become. She was noting that she was really depressed, and she wasn't sure how she could go on. She spoke specifically about how she didn't relate to her math teacher, and she felt guilty for falling behind. And I could read between the lines, it was taking her down a dark place. So I immediately stopped and I had to rethink my approach on this, because had up until that point, we'd approaching it as a parent, like, you got to get your work done. Why are you wasting time? Why are you being distracted? I find out that there's all these other things that are affecting her. She's on the cusp of experiencing identity issues and things like that.
Mm.
And so I had to really pivot and come from an approach of grace and comfort and understanding and say, I realize there's a lot more going on with you than I don't know about. And I probably haven't been the most approachable or available for you. So let's put this aside for a second. Don't worry about the math and the assignments. Let's just talk. What's going on with you? And we had several hours of conversation. I found out that, there were kids that were making fun of her because of the music that she liked. She liked K-pop music. I mean, people were laughing at her. They were laughing at her because she wore darker clothes, and it was interesting seeing how that guides a young adult's mind, where, okay, if they're making fun of me or this, there must be something wrong with me, or maybe that's not my identity or whatever. So I had to reset with her, and I said, okay, first of all, don't care what anyone else thinks. Okay, you are you, and we love you for who you are. You were put on this planet for that reason. And right now, I don't want you to worry about finding out who you are, because you're 13. You're so young. You have years ahead of you to learn and discover who you are. We're going to love you no matter what your identity is, whoever you feel that you're going to be. And all this pressure about math and everything, don't worry about that. If you're struggling, you can come to us. You can talk to me about it. You can talk to your mom, or you talk to your teachers. Because I'd found out she wasn't saying anything. She didn't say anything to her teachers. When assignments were past due, it's because she was struggling on the current assignment and they were moving on, and she didn't say anything. But the thing that just totally got me is when she said, I wanted to come to you, but you're so busy with work, and sometimes you come home and you're so tired, and I just don't want to bother you. I don't want to upset you. I said, Mila, there is nothing in this world that is more important to me in the moment than if you need me for something.
Yeah.
You come to me, you tell me, I will drop the world for you and help you out. Your mother and I will both do that for you. Whatever the struggle is, don't think that you can't approach us or talk to us about it. And just that one simple sentiment, you take for granted the fact that, did I really need to say that? I thought that was understood. And you realize, no, there's nothing that's understood. And some things you just have to say. And you think that you've always implied that because you're a loving parent. But in the moment with her at her age and what she's going through, when I said those things, it was like this huge weight lifted off of her. And she realized, I don't have to take this pressure on. I don't have to worry about these things. She said, I'm such a horrible person because I'm doing bad in math, and it's putting me in a position where I have to lie and everything. I said, Mila, you're not horrible. Do you think you're the only person that's struggling with math? I mean, look at all of your other classes. All your other classes, you're getting A's and B's.
Right.
And you've always had great scores in math. This 1 year, it's happening. It's because you have a new teacher, and you said you're not connecting with her. That has nothing to do with you. You know, so we just have to look at that, get you the support you need. And that night I went to bed scared because of how close I came to losing that connection. And if I hadn't had the opportunity, what I'm grateful for is that that God gave me the opportunity to get this little bit insight and have this conversation before it was too late.
Yeah.
And I regret that I couldn't have done that months ago when she was first struggling. I should have picked it up. Maybe I should have seen the signs and I didn't know it, but our relationship, and I feel like the trajectory of her mindset and her ability to move forward changed overnight just by having that opportunity to have the conversation.
First and foremost, man, thank you so much for sharing that. That's personal, and it's heartbreaking. But I understand that, because there's a lot of things that we say to our kids, but our actions speak louder than our words sometimes, and we tell them that we're always here for them, but then they see us, we're busy and we're tired and all those things. And it's really beautiful that you were able to catch that and be able to rectify that and change the path. So that's something to be incredibly grateful for. Wow, thank you for sharing that. Manny, brother, the other side of the world, my friend. Huh? So has anything crappy happened to you this year, man? Anything?
Yeah. And I'll be just as vulnerable as Rick was with that share. And thank you so much, Rick. I think both of you and Corey touched on something about being intentional about your being intentional about your attention. Like literally, our lives are decided by what we pay attention to. So, and in Rick's case, as much as the work was the emphasis, if he didn't have the opportunity to have the foresight to catch that and have that conversation, who knows, right? Personally, I'll open the door of transparency. So worst thing that happened to me this year was roughly around 8 months ago. I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Now, I speak for a living, so you can imagine the anxiety that I had dealing with that news, and being just so blessed and fortunate to have been able to catch it as early as I caught it, and it was really one of those things where the doctor just basically said, "Hey, you haven't had a full medical, look at. Let's just do a CT scan and check it out," and that's where it was caught. So
that's lucky,
it's
man.
the craziest thing in the world that God found a way to make sure that something that is so oblivious to the nature of life, right? Where we know so many people who have been dealing with it or have unfortunately passed, and all of a sudden you find out you have it, right? So it was a pretty life-turning event. They literally said that even after the conversation about the surgery, they just basically told me, it's really close to your vocal cords, so I'm just letting you know there may be an opportunity where you won't be speaking. And thanks, appreciate that. And
try not to do that.
Try to figure out a different method of making sure that your hands are blessed. So I had to relearn Luke 18 and just remind myself that we have to pray and not give up. And I literally prayed a lot, leaned hard on, David knows, he was one of the close, I always like to say my consigliere, right? He was the guy that I reached out to just to try to put life back on track. And I was fortunate. I had an amazing bride who I leaned on hard. She's in the healthcare business, so she was very, very much embracing all that I was dealing with, and then how I had to try to find that path, right? But I've since had the surgery. I've since went through my share of radiation treatment, and and the best part about this is that you can all hear me speak. So that's it didn't take away from the blessings that I was able to have, and just fulfill. I always keep saying, God has a plan for all of us, and He just wasn't ready to let me stop, doing what I had to do to change some lives. So I have had a tumultuous year, but man, what lessons to have learned through that. And I'll tell you, when you reached out today about gratitude, man, wow, what are the chances that I would have so much to be grateful for this year? And
that's right.
Yeah, so that's quick flash to all that's happened in my home. But man, I'm just happy to be able to share that story with you guys.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I appreciate that, man. I tell you, for me, it's been a rough few years, right? There's a lot of stuff going on with work and with family and the family dynamics. Still, not in relationship with my 3 grown daughters, which is very, very painful on a daily basis. But the combination of that and the work struggles, just get to the point where I get so self-absorbed and so filled with self-pity that I can't get past myself, and even though I think I'm doing a good job of taking care of other people, or taking care of my job, or taking care of things at home, I'm not doing a great job. And all of this really came to a head over the summer when my wife just fell into a really deep depression. I've never seen her like that in the almost 9 years we've been together. And she just struggled, and because she spent so much time, so much of our relationship making sure I'm okay because of the things I've struggled with at work, or making sure I'm okay because of uh the strained relationship with my grown daughters, and then her feeling bad because she knows that it's this relationship that is a catalyst for that strain. And suddenly she didn't have anything else to give me anymore. She was just in a depression. She was in a dark state, and there was nothing she could do to help lift my spirits when I had a bad day anymore. And her cup was just completely empty. And and so I would try to fix things like I would, I'm just a fixer. What can I do right now let me tap dance. Let me, here, take $100. Here, let's put a song on or something, right? And none of it was really getting to the root of the real issue. And as we've done the last 3 years, when I'm in convention season and I go on the road from September through middle of November, she goes down to Orlando with our son and our dog and stays with her mom. And I could tell when she was down there that, having the additional support of the family down there really helped her, and she was starting to feel a little bit better. But it really wasn't until September when, what we circled around earlier with Richard, is that being with Corey down in San Diego in early September, and Corey grabbing me and just saying, "Hey, you're going to meet me at 5:30 tomorrow morning out by the water. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk, and we're going to pray." And I've just been struggling for the last couple of years with that relationship with God so much, just trying to figure out how to jumpstart it. And I kept on trying to figure out fixes. Who's some guys I could talk to, or what can I do? What group can I go to that make me kickstart that relationship? And really just spending that initial time with Corey talking about it, realizing that I needed to make God a priority. I needed to set the time aside to pray and to have one-on-one time with God, and started doing that every morning while we were in San Diego with Corey. And then Richard joined us, and now we're in middle of November, and we still talk and text each other and pray every single day together. And I tell you this because as I've been reconnecting this relationship with God, it has completely changed my outlook on how I am to be a support to my wife, right? And to my son and to my family, and how to continually lift them up and put their needs first. And that shift has changed everything in my wife's depression, right? And now that she's back home, we it was her birthday over the weekend, and a dear friend of ours, Chris Murphy, had met with her back in August when she was at the lowest, and they had some time together. And he saw her on Saturday night. We did a little thing for her birthday party, and he said, "You are standing here in your power. You've got your power back. He's like, your countenance, everything about you, I could see that as lifted up." And so much of that is her being, rejuvenated with her family and things going well with her film and her reconnecting. But it's also a huge piece of that is me being the man I'm supposed to be in relationship, being the godly man that takes care of his wife and puts her first. And so that has been such a moment of gratitude for me to look at that and go, man, just open your freaking eyes, man. Open your eyes. So
Yeah.
But man, I really appreciate you guys being vulnerable and sharing. I don't want to make this go too long, so I'll just ask a couple more quick questions. As you look at the upcoming holiday season, how is it you can make the holidays better for somebody else? Not necessarily about, what gifts are you going to buy your wife or your kids, but what is it you guys can do during this holiday season to try to make things better for somebody else? And I'll tell you, yeah, from me, and this isn't a plug, but I'm producing the show on December 16th here in Nashville called the Hope for the Holidays. And it's because I look at the holiday season and just go, I am so brokenhearted during the holidays. I miss my daughters so much during the holidays. And every year it's a struggle for me to get to December 26th. I just want to get to the day past Christmas because it's so painful. And so this thought of, but I'm not unique. So many people are struggling with sick family members or aging parents or broken relationships or lost loved ones. Or so many people. It's like, what can we do to come together as a community to lift each other up and create connection and make it a better place so that people can get through the holidays? And I'm excited about that because of the people that have come alongside me that want to just give of themselves and give of their time to be a part of this, just because they recognize that pain that exists in so many of us. So as you guys think about the holidays, what do you think?
Well, I know for us in the Travelina house, we're going to attempt something a little different this year. We are going to make the holidays make it about others. So like for us, we're going to be serving on Thanksgiving, families that need it. And of course I get some blowback from the teens, because they want the normal, they want to just, we're still going to have a Thanksgiving dinner. But we're going to be spending the majority of the first part of the day,
Right.
just serving others. And for Christmas, we're not doing gifts this year. We are actually going
How'd that
to be
go over
doing
with the teens?
they're not happy about it, but honestly, the way we're approaching it is we're going to do a trip. So we're going to plan a trip for 2024 because the way we're looking at it is they've got so much stuff. We don't need any more stuff. You know what I mean? Like we need memories, we need moments. And so going back to that intentionality thing of like our job as men, right? The four of us right now sitting here is what? Providing, protecting, and preaching, right? It's leading. And we are supposed to be taking our families and presenting them to the Lord, right? Offering them as living sacrifices to God. Jesus has done so much for us. And we just have the tendency to put blinders on and, oh, I got this gift, and going shopping and blowing all this money when there's all of this, like I would rather spend that money now. And I got to tell you guys, my wife and I have argued about this for so long because I didn't want to let go of that holiday idea. Right. And she's constantly like, we need memories, we need moments, we need to be intentional. Let's spend time with our kids. Don't just give them a gift that they're going to put on a shelf in a month. And I'm like, well, it makes them happy. It brings them joy. And she's just like, for that second, like, let's give them something that they'll look back on in 20 years and go, oh my gosh, that changed my life.
Right.
And so for us, we're going to be more intentional, and this is not a pat on my back. It's me looking for ways to serve my community. We were outside, and our neighbor just right over here, she lost her husband a year ago, and we love them dearly. And she's older, and so I happened to be out front. Ireland was practicing roller skating or something, and she just starts talking about, oh yeah, it's been a year. And, I miss him so much, but we're going to decorate the house. And to me, I was like, oh, that's an opportunity. Would you like me to put up your Christmas lights? And she kind of like
Mm.
looked at me like, are you sure? I was like, of course. You want me to do that for you? And I put up all of her Christmas, and she was like, you would have thought I gave her
Wow.
$1 million. And that,
Yes.
it took me 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
Not if you did it right.
Exactly. But so anyway, I'll finish with that. It's to us, it's finding the little ways to love people in our community, loving on strangers, and making our kids know that they are so important to us. So important to us, in fact, that we need to be pointing them more and more to the only person that can love them more than I can, which is God. Right? God's got them. And so pointing them in that direction, that's what we're doing this year.
When we were exchanging our Bible verses, earlier this week or last week, and it's come up a couple of times, that verse about, and I can't quote where in the Bible it is, but about entertaining angels, and I just love that.
Hebrews 13:2. Yeah.
Right. When you do good work and you take care of other people, you don't be careful. Sometimes you'll be entertaining angels, right? It's like just the thought of that are there moments, it's almost like in Bruce Almighty, right? It's like you just have this person that you're taking care of, and it's like, oh, that wasn't really a person, that was really an angel, and God was just checking out to see what you would do in that situation.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It's funny when you were talking about not doing gifts. We did that one year in my previous marriage with my three daughters were probably in high school, and we decided we weren't going to do gifts one year, and we all had to make each other presents.
Oh,
right?
That's cool.
And I was the one that implemented it, right? And but I'm also the one that ruined it, because I'm like, really? That was your best effort? That's really what you know what I mean? And I put judgment on, and I'm like such an ass sometimes. No wonder they don't speak to me. Anyway.
No.
Sorry. All right.
For me, it's simple. It's just getting myself to be more open to strangers. And I know that sounds so strange, not to you, but to Annie and Rick, it's be open to strangers. And I just want to say, Rick, the moment that I said to you, when you came to me that I wasn't right, I didn't do the stage managing part right.
The Deloitte project. I'm going to take out that client name right there. That project you did in May, I will edit that out. that project in May, right?
Minder.
Yeah. That was a light bulb for me. That was a moment that was right on it for me. And I said, okay, I'm not right. I'm not. That was a poignant moment, Rick, which I talked to you about.
Yeah, we talked, and that's a perfect segue into where I was going to go with this, but because you had to face the awkwardness of having that conversation. We both had to, and for me, what stood out to me was, Richard, who you were is not the Richard I know, and what I know that your gifts are, what your talents have been, and what you've been able to do, and it was just so not you that I could have let it go and say, well, he's off his game, but no, that I think there's something deeper there. I'm glad we were able to have that conversation. Thank you for that. But for me, like I said, perfect segues. For the approach that I would put out there, and David, I would put this out to your listeners as they're hearing this, is like, if you've had that moment, like Richard said, encountering a stranger, where when you're in your car, you see that person that's asking for help, they're holding up the sign, or they're simply holding their hand out. If you've ever felt that awkwardness because you were there and you made eye contact, or they're right in front of you, identify, why does that make you feel awkward? And maybe we have to ask that question. Why does that make me feel awkward? What is there that prevents me from, responding to this very obvious plea for help? And if you're seeing that, if that's right in front of you and you feel awkward, maybe that's the thing we have to change. And how do I change that in myself so that the minute I see that, the first emotion is not awkwardness, but this compelling feeling, oh my gosh, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if everybody that responded that way,
That's right.
the minute the plea for help was put in front of you? Then from there, you take it one step further, and why are we waiting until we're faced with that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we can first approach, what is it in me that makes that awkward feeling, and let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of it that is in me that makes me go this other direction, because that doesn't help anybody.
Because that's
Yep.
not from God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and it's interesting. Let's unpeel that for a second, right? Because I think there's, off the top of my head, there's a couple of things that create that awkwardness, right? Well, one could be, I'm driving my nice, my nice car, and so then I feel ashamed that I have much and you're begging. Or it could be, oh, I'm just gonna give you money, you're just gonna buy alcohol with it, and this is you, right? And so there's judgment on that other person, and probably a myriad of other things, right? And this was a conversation I had a lot in my first marriage, because my first wife did not like it when I would give money to homeless people because of those reasons, of the judgment that they were going to use it for something else. And I would always say, it is between me and God to give them money.
Right.
It's between them and God what they do with it.
Do with it. Right.
It's-
Right?
Yeah. That's right.
Exactly.
Right. That's so true. It's you can't put yourself in a position to live their life, or to judge their life, or to direct their life. I mean, and again, this is for the people that are outwardly asking for help. So I think the other part of what I'm saying is that put yourself in the right heart, stand in his grace, so that you're in such a position that people recognize that you're there, willing to help. So when the time comes, they know they can come to you.
Yeah.
And that relates back to what I talked about earlier with my daughter. It's like, I thought I was there and I wasn't,
Yeah, that's right.
and I had to open my eyes up a bit more, open my heart up a bit more, give myself more of a 360 perspective of how I am affecting or not affecting the people closest to me. I think that's where it starts and where it continues from.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you the story real quick, guys. So when we were at, I don't want to say the name of the event, but I was at a Go West event this year in Vegas. And like I said, I'm not drinking this year. And normally when I go to Vegas, I look forward to heading down to the bar at night, having a cocktail, whatever. Well, this year, when I had time, I would go back to the room, and instead of going and spending that time on myself, I got on my knees and I said, okay, Lord, how are you going to use me tonight? And I got up and I went out on Las Vegas Boulevard, and I was just searching for people to help. And I'm not going to tell you details because I don't want to rob myself of those blessings from the Lord. But I will tell you this. I've never been able to connect with that feeling of, I don't know what to do. There is so much need. And as soon as you put out one fire over here and you're helping this person here, there's another one 10 feet away. And then you go and okay, Lord, I'm going to talk to this person, and you're helping this person. And then, okay, are you good? And then you walk away, and 10 other feet. Oh my God. And then you're like, I have nothing left. I have no, and it's overwhelming.
Right.
But I feel like that's one thing we can do, is just like, okay, Lord, how can I help you? How can I serve you in this moment right now? And it wasn't until I think that's one of the other things that's motivating us this year in this home, is because that transformed me. It's like, man, I could be spending this time on myself down in a bar and like enjoying Las Vegas, but instead it was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to find somebody I can help. And it was just like, oh my gosh, Lord, this world is hurting. This world is hurting.
That's so incredible, Corey. And again, this is my second reference to this movie, but Bruce Almighty, which I think Tom Shadyac, is such an incredible modern day parable. But that scene where Jim Carrey is answering the prayers, right? And it's just overwhelming him in his head. And he's like, I'm hearing all the
Yeah.
prayers of everybody in the world. And
Yeah.
God's like, no, that's just a 3-block radius, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
he thought it was like
Yeah.
everybody. It was like, so
Yeah.
that's incredible. Manny, how about you? What are you going to keep your eye on this holiday season to make things better for somebody else?
Well, my whole mantra of life is making time count. So I so appreciate all of you with your words on family and a little bit more connection to all that's going on around you. I'm going to concentrate on just doing my best to help people find the confidence to approach God, man. I think a lot of times, we lose sight of the power that has to receive mercy and grace, right? Because of fear. So I think no one wants to really expose themselves, right? Expose their failures, kind of find themselves in this dark place where they believe they're the only ones ever going through it. So I've started to really just make some phone calls, and it's so interesting when you call someone you haven't really spoken to in a while, and you just say, hey, I start off the conversation, and this is exactly how it goes. Hey, I don't need anything. I just want to tell you that I love you. And
Awesome.
There's the reaction from that is so powerful because it's so pure, right? Either that person on the other side just doesn't know what to say, and that's enough, right? Silence is loud when it needs to be. Yeah. Or you just accept the fact that they know, they know. And because I always translate everything to time that we're not going to get back, these are my personal ways of making sure that I remind folks that if this is all you have, then let's make sure we stay attuned to what's important. And to me, I think that's the part, the confidence in just knowing that God's grace is there and His mercy is there, but you got to find that strength internally. And of course, Corey touched on the family time, and I love the fact that there's no gifts, right? We'll make the gift of time, and get out there and spend it. So I in this home, I think we always are very attuned to how much time we actually have, and I share it openly with my family as much as possible because we're not promised anything. And if anything, this year has taught me that, right? That you have to really learn how to really be intentional about what you have, because those last words could be your last words, right? So I want to be able to make sure that I share them and make sure that they are very much understood. No complications, no extras on the side, no branches off the tree. Hey, I just want to tell you that I love you, and I think a lot of that has now redefined how I look at things. And I've had my share. I mean, around the neighborhood, and there's a couple of neighbors who've lost their loved ones. I live in a pretty older neighborhood, so a lot of folks who probably lived here a lot longer starting to lose their loved ones. So we're just opening the door, man. Stopping by and come through. We have extra cranberry sauce.
Love that.
So yeah, man. But I'm grateful for all of you, man. Thank you for sharing your stories, guys.
Yeah, man. Manny, gosh, man, I appreciate you. You've become family so quickly. You're the person on this call that I've known the shortest amount of time, but you're absolutely like a brother to me. And I love your mantra of don't count time, make time count. I can't wait for you to come to the holiday show. There's a country artist that's on the show. His name's Jay Allen, and he's got a song out right now on country radio, and it's there's no time like the present. There's no present like the time. Right. And so his whole song is there's no present like time. And that's it, man. It's like it's not about the things, it's about the time. So I can't wait for you to meet him. So thank you, my brother, for that. And Richard, thank you, brother, for coming on here and sharing your story and being vulnerable with us today. I'm doing this in order of how long I've known people. And Corey, man, years and years of being family together, and you watching my kids grow and me watching your kids grow and now you watching my kid grow. It's a vicious cycle. You're up next, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Here we go.
Just kidding. Just kidding. And Rick, man, I cannot tell you how grateful I am for 36 years of working side by side with you. And as I'm closing out my season here at Go West and moving on to something else, I'm super grateful that you're going to be here to carry on the legacy of what we've built together over these last almost 4 decades. So I appreciate all you guys so much, and love on those families of yours. Have an incredible Thanksgiving, and I'm grateful for each one of you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
likewise.
Right back at you, brother.
For you too, David. Thank you.
Right at
Thanks.
you.
And for all of you that have tuned into this sappy, special, wonderful Thanksgiving edition of the True West podcast, thank you so much for joining us. Love on your families, and ask them today at dinner, what makes you curious? Thanks for being here.
Right on.
And stop recording. Recording. Where's the stop recording button? No.
You got Richard.
Uh,
Well, that was awesome.